Welcome to episode 22 of a VYPE Recruit Spotlight. I am your host, Wack. Joined alongside with me are my co-hosts, Jackson DePasquale and Ashton Lux. How we doing, boys? It's kind of been a minute. Yes, we had a show last week, but technically we haven't recorded in like 2 weeks because we pre-recorded. Got a bunch of news to talk about because of that. And we'll get to all that in a minute. But Jackson, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Just getting ready for our citywide Houston football photo shoot next week. Very excited for that. But also, it's been a huge week in recruitment the past 2 weeks. Lots of commitments, lots of top schools being dropped, lots of things to go over. So very excited for the show.
Yeah, I mean, as we're recording this, I know Caleb Hicks is kind of teasing an announcement, and it's kind of, and we'll get to all this in a minute, but it seems like Oklahoma is about to have an uptick in recruiting in July. Ashton, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, y'all. I'm really happy to be back. It's been a crazy last 2 weeks and just commitment since we've been off, but like you said, there's a lot to go over, so I'm just ready to get into it, man.
And let's do that. I mean, let's talk about kind of the big news, I guess. Something that, we kind of briefly touched on when we pre-recorded our show, and kind of what's kind of been what people are calling the arch effect, if you will, for at least one university, which is the University of Texas. Arch Manning does commit to the University of Texas, and they've had, I think, 10 recruits or something crazy like that since. I mean, just to name a few, you have Connor Stroh, offensive lineman. You have Billy Walton from South Oak Cliff, Jaden Chapman, Jonah Wilson, of course, from the Houston area. Johnathan Cook, probably the other big name there. Just to name a few, they've had more than that. But talk to me, guys, real quick, just about some of these commitments and what do you think? Now, of course, there's a whole bit back and forth if you follow, kind of college football social media. It's like, well, you were still 5-7 last year, sure, and that's understandable. And these guys they're still a whole year away, right? What do you think this kind of means overall, in your opinion, for the University of Texas and just for Texas high school football recruits? Are we going to see more kind of come to the University of Texas because of the arch effect? Let's do Ashton first. Ashton, what do you think of all this arch effect kind of things happening at the University of Texas?
I think you really hit it right on the head. As soon as Arch committed, a lot fell into place almost immediately. And it's just been an uphill battle for the Longhorns and Steve Sarkisian and just getting all these recruits. But like you said, they still are a year away, so a lot can change by then. Next thing you know, Quinn Ewers may be the next NFL quarterback. He may not. Arch Manning may not pan out to be what he is, or he may pan out to be what he is. Really, we don't know. But for Texas high school football specifically, I think we're going to see the University of Texas a lot more in these top 5 and these top 10 lists.
Jackson, let me turn it over to you now. What's kind of your take on the arch effect?
I mean, obviously, it's handoff of Texas is exactly what you want if you're Texas. The momentum that you've gained now in pretty much every recruitment is insane. I think the biggest, though Arch is the big news and everyone wants to go play with Arch, I think the biggest news is Johnathan Cook committing this early. I think Johnathan is going to be a guy that you see recruiting other guys. He's already done it. He's already trying to recruit Anthony Hill to the 40 acres, trying to get him there. I expect Johnathan Cook to be kind of the leader in this class and recruit, and that's what we've seen college football kind of turn into. You see commits start to help recruit for their classes, and I think that Texas getting Arch was the first step, and now getting some of these other pieces that will help them pull in other guys is the second piece to that. So already a hot start for Texas. We'll see if they're able to keep this momentum and keep guys committed, as it is still June or now July. So we will see how this class turns out, but it's a hot start for Texas, great start for Texas, and it's good to see Texas starting to get the guys they used to get back in the day.
Yeah, and of course, as we know, what happens in June or July, that might not be the final say. I mean, I think, we had some Texas, I say we because I'm a Texas fan, did have some good recruits last year before losing them, decommitted and committing elsewhere. I think Evan Stewart was someone that was committed to Texas before flipping to A&M. And if you haven't seen it yet, go check out Johnathan Cook. I think it's on his Twitter. They had a little fun back and forth video where they're going up against one another and kind of ribbing each other, if you will. So definitely go check that out. Another thing, and I don't really know if this is going to affect Texas high school football recruiting at all, but I think I'd be remiss not to even mention it, and that's the way college football is heading, right? So as we know, USC and UCLA are going to the Big Ten, a big move, which I didn't see coming. That's you think about that travel that's going to happen for these programs. And because of that, it really feels like the Pac-12 is almost going to be kind of assimilated, or even the Big 12 is going to be assimilated. It kind of seems like they're trying to work a deal where maybe 6 teams from the Pac-12 come into and join the Big 12. It's kind of what I've been seeing. What do you think this all does, not only for the college football landscape? And Jackson, I'll start with you, but just the Texas high school football recruiting landscape.
I mean, it's huge. You're going to see a lot of these mega conferences happening. And while I think it's good for recruits because you'll have more eyes on you, you might be able to play in the conference that you want to play in because you're going to have these mega conferences form. On the college football side of it, I'm not necessarily a big fan of this, creating the mega conferences. What this really is spilling from is the fact that the college football playoff hasn't been expanded. And it truly should be because there are a lot of teams that have been left out over the past couple of years that probably should have got in. And if the playoff was expanded, I'm sure you wouldn't see these conferences start to break up the way they have. I mean, losing USC and UCLA in the Pac-12 is terrible for that conference. Those are two of the best programs in all of the sports there. I know in the past couple of years they haven't been that good at football, but I mean, those are historically two great programs. And they're going to go join the Big Ten now. So we'll see how it all pans out at the end of the day. I think that the College Football Playoff Committee and the NCAA are going to have to make some tough decisions here if they don't want to see this turn into who gets who. But we'll see how it all plays out. It's been a crazy week in that aspect.
Yeah, I've always been a big proponent of 8 teams in the playoff, and yes, you're going to have some blowouts in the first round, but you just never know. And maybe that 5 seed or that that maybe had a slow start to the season is going to come on and do something. So I've always been a big proponent of the 8 seeds at minimum. Ashton, what do you think, man? What do you make of all this?
I think Jackson really kind of hit it all. Recruits are really going to be able to get this exposure that they may not have been able to get at some other schools. But like you said, the travel is going to suck for all that. And obviously we do want the college playoff committee the championship committee to expand the playoff. And because like you said, some of those schools may not get up to a hot start. But I think there are pros and cons to everything, and just some tough decisions are going to have to be made in the following months.
Yeah, and like you said, Jackson, I do believe, with the likes of what appears to be maybe some Pac-12 schools coming to the Big 12, I think you are going to see some of those maybe schools start maybe seeing a little bit more of these Texas kids that maybe they just haven't paid attention to, and vice versa, right? You're going to have these kids with eyes on some of these Pac-12 schools now because they're going to be playing the likes of Texas Tech and Baylor on a more frequent basis, and so you might see some more Texas kids going to those schools. So in a way, I think it can be a win for Texas high school football recruiting from the aspect of getting more eyeballs on students. Hopefully, that's always the goal, right? Is to get kids recruited. So with that being said, I want to turn it over to you two now to talk about some news that you want to go over. Ashton, I'll start with you. What are some of the things you've seen that are kind of newsworthy this week?
So a lot's kind of happened over the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to stay catered towards this week. So to start off, staying local, 4-star Lingham Creek wide receiver Jaquiz Petaway commits to the University of Oklahoma over the University of Texas. This is huge for Coach Venables and Jeff Lebley, as in the last week, it seems like the Longhorns have been securing multiple commits, like we spoke earlier. Staying in the same 16-6A district, 3-star linebacker Dylan Rogers commits to Nebraska, their second commit from Texas, and their 12th from the 2023 class.
One second. I know Jackson kind of wanted to jump in there. It seems like on the Petaway side. So go ahead, Jackson. I know you wanted to say something there.
Yeah, what I wanted to piggyback off of with the Jaquez Petaway is this is a huge get for Venables and Levy. This is a guy who a lot of people thought was going to go down to Texas and Alabama. OU ends up in his final two with Texas, and he decides to go to Oklahoma. This is going to have big implications as Jackson Arnold, who we will talk about in a little bit, won the Elite 11 Finals MVP, and a lot of people want to go play with this guy too. Another commitment that is coming up that this could piggyback off of is Jaden Greathouse. He's committing July 15th. OU is in his top four. So be on the lookout for that. I think this Petaway commitment is going to be huge for OU and really up their recruitment.
Yeah, and I think some of that, it could even, lots of speculation can be made, right? Because that receiver room is getting a little full there at Texas. Is Pilot maybe considering Texas, and maybe Petaway said, well, you know what, I'll just go to Oklahoma. Lots of conspiracy theories you can really talk. I guess you don't want to call it conspiracy theories, but lots of speculation and rumors can be made off of this. Yeah, and then Greathouse as well. So this is the fun time of year when kids start saying, hey, I'm committing July, whatever, and you're like, oh man, this is, because the way they commit can have a ripple effect on how others commit. So that being said, I'll turn it back over to Ashton. I'm sorry for interrupting you there, Ashton. What other news besides the Petaway news you want to get into?
No, you're all good. Staying in that same 16-6A district, 3-star linebacker Dylan Rogers commits to Nebraska, their second commit from Texas, and their 12th in the 2023 class. Coach Frost and company have really been recruiting this 2023 class really hard and on a hot streak recently. And then we head over to Shadow Creek, where defensive tackle Theorin Randall commits to Washington State. And then in Sport 4-star safety Randon Fontenot commits to Utah after another safety from Katy, which we mentioned earlier, Johnathan Hall, just committed 3 days prior. And then to end it off, 4-star Arlington Lamar offensive tackle Isaiah Robinson commits to Baylor over Cal, LSU, Prairie View, and Howard.
It really seems like Nebraska is having themselves quite the recruiting class. We should get Will back on the show to talk about it. I mean, this is a program that could really do some damage in the next couple of years, depending on how things play out, obviously. So definitely got to get Will back on the show to talk about this once the football season starts, because I'm really liking what Nebraska is doing. Jackson, let's turn it over to you now. What news do you have from us from the recruiting aspect of things from this past week or so?
So before I get into what I wanted to talk about, I just wanted to mention something that Ashton had said. Baylor's putting together a heck of a class right now. This is their 6th offensive lineman that they've gotten in this class to be committed. Watch out for the Bears. They're slowly creeping up and picking out some of these top recruits. But things I wanted to jump into, Marquis Collins, running back from College Station, commits to Duke. Big time get for Duke, getting one of the top running backs in the state the past 2 years. He was on a state runner-up team last year. I expect College Station to have a great year and him to have a great year individually. In other news, I've got David Hicks dropped his top 7. It added in Texas, A&M, Oregon, Michigan State, Miami, and OU. I expect his commitment to be sometime during the season, maybe late season. But look out for David Hicks, as he's going to be one of these leaders on that pay-toe defense this year, and obviously a big-time get for any team in Texas to try to keep him there. Other than that, that's pretty much all I had for the week. Ashton pretty much covered everything else I had wanted to talk about. So, yeah, it's just been a great week in recruitment.
That it has, and like I said, it's only going to be heating up. I've seen a couple of athletes from across state Texas saying they're going to be dropping theirs mid-July. So tons of news will be coming your way in the next couple of weeks.
Before we move on to the interview, like we had mentioned earlier, we did want to touch on Jackson Arnold, the Denton Geyer quarterback, 2023, winning the Elite 11 MVP, which is a huge get for Jackson Arnold. He has been committed to Oklahoma since the end of his season after the loss to Westlake. And this is a huge, like I said earlier, it is a huge get for Jackson Arnold. I think he's finally getting some of the respect he deserves. I mean, they had some guys on this list like Malachi Nelson, who some people had at number 2 or even number 1. Obviously, Arch Manning was not there. But going into the Elite 11 camp, everyone had their eyes on Malachi Nelson. And for Jackson Arnold to come out there and throw really well, have great footwork, and against some of these top guys, it just shows that Texas trumps all.
Jackson, I know you had something on Jackson Arnold as well. What you got?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been underlooking how good Jackson Arnold really is. This is a guy who came in his freshman year into the state championship game when Eli Stowers, A&M quarterback, went down and had to come in and play the rest of that game. And then flash forward to his junior year, he's playing Cade Klubnik in the Westlake powerhouse in the state championship game and is throwing punches with them. He's a guy that I think a lot of people are underlooking. I think this is a great get for Oklahoma. I think a lot of people are underlooking Oklahoma as they've got a new coach, new staff, but they're getting some of these top guys. Like I said, they got Petaway earlier. This is only going to lead to more, and I truly, if I had to put a crystal ball on it right now, I think Jaden Greathouse might be committing to Oklahoma July 15th. So this is a huge deal for Oklahoma to have a quarterback like Arnold already committed to him. This is also a big deal for Arnold to kind of prove, hey, I'm not some chump over here. I'm one of the top guys too. So I think Arnold definitely balled out, very deserving of the MVP, and very excited to see his senior year at Denton Guyer as they try to make their third attempt at a state championship.
That being said, it's time for our interview this week, and Jackson is going to be the one to do it. Jackson, you're kind of our interview extraordinaire. So that being said, let's turn over to your interview right now.
Thanks, Josh. Our special guest today for our interview is Katy safety Johnathan Hall, recently committed to Utah. Johnathan, how you doing, man?
How you doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing excellent right now.
Yeah, let's jump into that right there, man. You committed to Utah a couple weeks ago. Your recruitment has blown up this spring. What was it like to finally kind of make that decision for you and going into your senior year?
Yeah, it was really like a weight lifted off my shoulders. So, like, during the recruitment, it's like people texting you here, people text you there. Oops. But when you really I think I found home over there. It was very different. It was something I like. It was something I think I can adjust to. And then also they won a lot of football games. So that was like a big factor to why I committed there.
Yeah, I mean, Utah's defense has been one of the top defenses in the country as of late. They won the Pac-12 last year. They're always competing for a Pac-12 championship, it feels like, the past 5 years. What exactly on the visit sold you? Was it just the coaches? Was it some of the players you talked to? What was it exactly that really made it feel like home?
Yeah. So the coaches really, they sold it for me. And then I don't know if y'all know this guy named Reggie Dunn. He played at Utah, and he was my host. And, like, he really showed me around. He really told me everything I need to know about Utah. Then also the team, it was a team atmosphere. It was nobody that says that it's just me, like, I want playing time, this and that and the third. Everybody just focus on the team. And then the views are exceptional. So that's why.
I mean, yeah, man, you don't even have to go on vacation for a break. You can just go to the mountains, go skiing, all that, man.
Yep.
Got all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's jump into last season. You obviously had a big year. Katy had a big year. Y'all made it to the semifinals. Didn't get the result you wanted there. Talk about last season, how you felt. How did you feel?
Last season it was really like, because it was my first season at Katy. It was really like we played as a team. I can say that for sure. I can say we went out as a team. We fought hard. I feel like we had a great last season. I feel like this season is going to be even better than what we had last season.
Talking more about that, obviously you've been in the off season. You've been hitting some camps. You've been doing a lot of things. What are some things that you've been doing in the past couple of months, and then now a month away from Friday Night Lights? What are you going to be doing to up your game? And what are the things you're going to be working on?
Yeah, so really for me, it was really like more of a footwork because I just moved to defense actually just last year. So, like, while I was playing offense, I used to play receiver. Everybody was working on defense. So, like, when I switched, I'm at the very beginning. So, like, now this is my first full off season where I can work on strictly safety things.
Yeah, you transfer from Klein Oak. Let's talk about what joining Katy is like, because I feel like a lot of people, especially people out of the state, they don't get Texas high school football. They don't get
Yeah,
the traditions and the things we got down here. And Katy's definitely one of these blue bloods of Texas high school football.
yeah.
What was it like going from Klein Oak to then Katy, and what was the culture like there? And what made you buy in immediately?
Yeah. So it was, I can say it's very, very organized. Coach Joseph got a good thing running over there. And actually the first week I was there, we had 6 o'clock practice. And I'm thinking 6 p.m. practice, but no, it was 6 in the morning practice. Every day that whole week, and then after that, and then we had 2 days that week. So like my first week was like, it was horrible. It was horrible. But then I knew, I understood that week why they're so good, because they practice so hard and they train so hard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, y'all had a great season last year. Y'all are looking forward to having a good season this year. Let's kind of switch gears here. We'll
Yeah.
come back to next season here in a second, but what's the recruiting process like for a lot of people who don't get it? And obviously, yours kind of took off
Yeah.
your junior year. So,
Uh-huh.
what's it like waiting for these offers to come? But also, once these offers start coming in, you got coaches talking to you all the time. What's it like going through the process for those who don't understand it?
Yeah. So me personally, I feel like I'm new to the process, because like I just started getting recruited the end of my junior season. But I was always like, man, when I'm gonna get these offers. And then my good buddy Malik Silla, he always used to tell me, he was like, man, just wait. Just wait on it. It's gonna come. Just wait. And I said, all right. So I stayed humble, and then the end of my junior season, it kind of just blew up. And now it's like coaches hit your phone. They always want to chat. They want you to come here, there. They want to see what you're doing. It's a lot, but I'm very grateful of it. I'm happy that I have it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the recruiting process is different for everyone. You have some guys that just start picking up offers all the time. Sometimes there's a little bit of a lull, a little bit of patient time, but it seems like you had the right mindset in it. And it's great to hear a recruit's perspective on it, because I feel like a lot of times as fans, we just think, oh, well, I don't understand why I don't pick this school. There's a lot
Yeah,
more thinking that goes into it.
yeah, it
Um,
is.
Now asking a couple fun questions before we jump into next season. Now that NIL has become such a big deal in college football, what is one brand, or maybe it's a restaurant, maybe it's something else that you would want to rep once you get to the college level for an NIL deal?
Yeah. So me, personally, I want like a Canes in our deal. I love Canes, and then also probably like a Dodge or a Mercedes, some in that field, because I like cars and food. So
Okay. I mean, hey, we've seen a lot of college football players already get some deals like that. You have Bajan Robinson at Texas. He's one of those Canes
yeah,
guys. Um, but now going into next season, y'all are seeing kind of as coming back, and y'all have a little revenge tour that y'all want to
yeah.
make. But y'all also will be playing a team this year that's jumping up in the 6A, that's getting a lot of hype right now in Pato. Uh, what's the game that's circled on your schedule? And maybe it is Pato for next season.
Um, yeah, it's definitely pedo, because they talk a lot, and and we all in Katy. So like, if they win, they think they run the all of Katy, since they won their division. So this year we really going. I feel like we're gonna put a quiet to that, make them be very quiet. We're gonna put a beating on them so they can just hush.
Hey, I mean, district rivalries, hometown rivalries. That's what Texas high school football is about. Very excited to see that game, as both sides are going to have a ton of D1 talent, and a ton of, I'm sure a ton of college coaches will be there as well. Uh,
Yeah.
Last couple questions I got for you, Jonathan, are what are the goals you have set for yourself for next season?
Uh, I don't I don't really have any personal goals, but I do have team goals. Team goals definitely winning state, and then like having a bond with all my teammates, not just the starters, not just the second strings, all my teammates, because those last forever.
Yeah, especially going into senior year, you want to leave your impression. You want to be one
Uh,
of those team leaders. So, last question I got for you. This is going to be for the Utah fans out there. What's one thing you want to tell all the Utah fans what they're going to get from Johnathan Hall the next 3 to 4 years once you get there?
yeah, man. Utah fans, you definitely gonna get a humble guy, a hard worker. I'm always gonna rep Utah regardless of anything. So I feel like I can just come in, work hard, be humble, and then the fans, I know they're crazy over there. We seen a couple when I went up there. So it's gonna be crazy, but I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna enjoy it a lot.
Well, Jonathan, thank you. It's been an awesome interview having you on, man. Uh, Now we're going to turn it back over to myself, Ashton, and Josh. We're going to give you all our under the radar athletes. But Jonathan, once again, thank you for hopping on the show, and have a good rest of your summer. And we're looking forward to the next season, man.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you.
Once again, Jackson, thanks for the interview. Always love having those on our show. Let's move on to our last segment of our show, and that's the Under the Radar segment, where we take a look at athletes that we consider under the radar for one reason or another, whether they're being under recruited, we feel they should have maybe more D1 offers, or maybe they're maybe like an all-star stud and they only, like I said, they only have like 7 or 8 offers, and we feel they should have 20, 30 offers. Under the radar can mean whatever we want it to mean, and that's why we love this segment, because we get to highlight athletes we feel are under the radar. So let's start with Ashton this week. Ashton, who is your under the radar athlete this week?
So before I start, I'm going to apologize to Oki. I'm going to mispronounce your name, but I promise I'm trying my best. So my under the radar recruit of the week is Oke Ogenohi Akabori, a senior A-Leaf Elsik lineman. So right off the bat, the one thing that separates Oki from everyone else is his will to work. Going into the Trapping at the Trenches camp put on by Mike West, I knew some of the bigger players, but I was looking for that one player who would stand out that not many have been able to see before. I was able to watch OK warm up, and right off the bat, I could see the sense of urgency in his movements. And then later on, I saw him go against some Division I caliber defensive linemen, and not only give them a run for their money, but win some of those one-on-ones through his brute strength and smooth and consistent footwork. With all the intangibles that Oki is able to bring, his physique does not lack of a collegiate athlete. Oki stands at 6'2" and weighs in at 290 pounds. But also, an interesting fact about Oki is that he only recently started playing football as his family relocated from Nigeria just a few years ago. Although A-Leaf Elsik has not been a contender for the last few seasons, I believe Oki can help turn that tide around.
Yeah, it's one of those upsides, right? You haven't played football a lot. There's a lot of upside there. Jackson, who do you got this week, man?
So my under the athlete this week is Nick Krever. Apologies for pronouncing the last name. Kreveridis from Katy High School. He's a class of 2023 offensive tackle, 6'6", 290, 83-inch wingspan, 3.7 GPA. He's a guy who's been on Katy varsity for 2 years. Big guy, plays on the outside, has great footwork, can move and keep guys in front of him, can also demolish guys in the run game. He has a couple small offers as of right now. I expect him to blow up. This is a guy I can see relating to a guy like I've been able to see at the Woodlands High School, Caden Siraki, who's about the same size and started blowing up his senior year. I expect Nick to do the same this year and have a big-time year for Katy. Be out on the lookout for this kid, as he's one of the best offensive linemen in the Houston area, and I expect his recruitment to start picking up real soon.
And now it's my turn, and I'm going to go to the San Antonio area. I'm going with Ashton Dubose of Brennan High School, probably the top San Antonio school last year. He's a quarterback. He stands at 6'2", 190 pounds, and he's a dual threat quarterback. Absolutely tore it up last season. 3,623 yards, and get this, 53 touchdowns through the air. Amazing. And that wasn't even all. He had almost 1,000 yards rushing and 15 touchdowns from rushing added to that. So absolutely dominant season by him. They made it to the regional finals, where they lost to Lake Travis. So 13-1 record overall. Currently only has 5 offers, UTSA being one of them. That's probably the most notable one right there in his kind of house right there. As you know, San Antonio School, San Antonio College. This man, I tell you what, I think some people might look at him and say, well, he's under 200 pounds. But you know what? I don't really buy that, as any type of excuse why he's not getting more offers, just because you can put on that weight once you get to college. And if you go check out his social media, you'll see he's been putting in work in the off season, getting in that weight room. So this whole he's under 200 pounds thing, I don't buy that for 1 second. For me, he's got the speed, he's got the arm strength, he's got the accuracy, he's got all those intangibles, and I think he's going to ball out again this year in his senior year. I expect those 5 offers to grow quite considerably. So my under the radar this week, Ashton Dubose of Brennan High School. It's going to do it for our show this week. Of course, if you want to be featured on our under the radar segment, hit us up in the DMs, hit us up in the comments, send us an email. We will cover you in our under the radar segment. We love to show some love to these athletes, get you guys recruited. That's one of the main goals with that segment, is to hopefully get someone to see you for the first time and help you get you some offers. That's the dream right there, right? That's the dream. So that being said, as we head out, I always like to give some shout outs. Jackson, who you shout out this week?
I'm going to shout out my little brother. We just moved him into College Station. He's starting the Gateway program at A&M, so he will be there the next 5 weeks. So good luck, Harry. Hopefully you're having fun, but also studying hard. Good luck the next 5 weeks. And, that's shout out to you guys as well. Great. Another episode 22. Glad we're still doing this.
Yes, sir. Ashton, who are you shouting out, man?
So I want to shout out 2 of my former teammates, Jalen Bernard, a Cy Ranch point guard, and Trent Burns, crazy to say, but 7'2" small forward. They both recently just got their first offer, and it's just really good to see some of my old teammates, some of my old middle school and just really early high school buddies just getting the respect they deserve. And I want to shout y'all out, episode 22. I haven't been here all the way, but it's been a really fun ride.
Hey, you weren't here all the way, but you're here now, and that's all that matters, right? So 22 episodes in the book, and going to do many, many more. Going to shout out you guys as always for being here with me for the ride. It's always great to to have you guys, and y'all put out great quality content. So who else am I going to shout out? I think that's going to be it. You know what? Shout out my wife. I haven't shouted out my wife in a long time. So shout out Samantha. So that's my ride or die right there. So that being said, that is going to be our show next week. We will be back next Friday. Ashton, you're going to take a little break after next week. I think you're here next week, and then you're taking, I think, 2 weeks off. So it'll be me and Jackson for a couple of weeks. And of course, next week is our VYPE Houston photo shoot. By the time, we meet next week, that will have been done. So till next week, I'm Whack. That's Jackson and Ashton, and we'll see you at the games.